I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And there's our city attorney. All right. My report, most of us were at the League Elected Official Conference the other weekend. I did have a small cities board meeting. We did touch base with a few legislators and have been trying to update concerned or interested people about what and they had asked me to bring down there. One was about the 3-2 alcohol and how it affects some of the small bowling alleys and convenience stores. I see that's making some waves in the legislature. And I do have a community advisory council meeting, not until tomorrow though, so I'll bring any update at our next meeting. So Council Member LeBeau.
Yeah, I was at the LMC Elected Officials Conference. We had a budget and finance board. We had a special city council meeting last week and also had 2 meetings of the ad hoc library board.
Thank you. Councilmember Hertzberg.
I was also at the LNC at Brainerd, budget and finance last Tuesday, and public works just got over.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Ranky.
We had a planning meeting, and then we've had a couple of policies and procedures meetings for personnel, and we should be coming back with the revised job descriptions, I think, by our next council meeting.
Okay, all right. Councilmember Gilmore.
Policy and committees and policy and procedures, the special council meeting. I was at the LMC, but I was in Baxter. I don't know where Neil was.
Yeah.
I hit them both.
All right, thank you very much. Then we have one department head report from Public Works, Mr. Mergen.
Okay, thank you. First of all, Code Red. I'd like to remind residents that they can sign up for that anytime. And also on March 31st from 1 to 3 out at the Rose Center, there will be a additional sign up out there, and Tom Fred will be out there to assist anybody who cannot or is having difficulties getting signed up for that.
Out at the Green Roof?
Out at the Green Room.
Okay.
Yes. The airport fly-in is scheduled for August the 9th. Right, currently there's like 4 shows that are scheduled for that. They're also looking at a traveling military display. There will be some static displays, and they're also working on a display from NASA if they can get that coordinated. The compost site, weather permitting, we could be looking at mid-April. The weather cooperates possibly a little earlier. Again, I'd like to remind residents there, do follow the rules. It is, you are videoed out there, and we will track you down if you're leaving items that you're not supposed to be. Again, the RV site also, weather permitting, that will be open about the mid-April timeframe. Park reservations, they can come in anytime and reserve either the gazebo or the Veterans Park. And again, the gazebo and the beach, we do have the new playground equipment set up. It will be ready to go early this spring there. So, the fishing pier, we are still working with the DNR on that. They haven't confirmed whether it will be this year or the time frame on that. Water Festival is also on our agenda, but that is scheduled for May the 8th. The radar speed signs, we do have those in. The township did hear about that, and they have offered to go purchase a trailer. I think it's on their meeting. They're going to confirm it tonight. So we would have 1 mobile unit. And then currently we're looking at Lake Avenue and then possibly one on State Highway 55. There's a little glitch with the one on 55, but we are trying to work with the MnDOT to get that straightened out. The spring cleanup household hazardous waste is on April the 25th. Again, out at the high school north parking lot from 8 until 11 a.m. And the county has confirmed that they will be there. And our other part-timer, Dave Schwank, I guess he is scheduled to start at the late March here. Also, crews will be reading water meters, I think it's not this week, but the week after, so. Thank you.
Okay, all right, then we have the consent agenda, which are the minutes from those two meetings on first page, the January 6th Planning Board meeting and the February 12th Policies and Procedures Board meeting. And then the vouchers totaling $775,697.50, and that is it for consent.
I'll move the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Rinky, seconded by LeBeau to approve the consent agenda. Discussion. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, and that carried. And the first item is in regards to looking at a possible rental ordinance. And Brad will give us a verbal update or report.
Good evening, thank you. This is just something that I brought to policies and procedures, or I'm sorry, to the planning board, last planning board meeting, and it was asked to come here for some reason. But anyway, I just wanted to bring to light how this came about. So since I've been doing this since 2015, it's been brought to my attention every probably 6 months about living conditions and rental units. So I thought maybe we should address it again. Being in my position as Public Works and a building official, I'm in nearly every home in town. And the rental ordinance would, I believe, help alleviate some of the safety issues that could be happening with rental units. You know, there also is a considerable risk of blight in the neighborhood on these rentals that aren't being taken care of. So, safety being priority number one. There's an example from Hutchinson. You know, that it's got a nice layout, and it's, you know, I did this to create a discussion. I'm not attached to that ordinance by any means, but I thought it'd make a nice discussion start.
When the planning board did review this at our last meeting, and I moved that it come here before going to policies, just because we sort of looked through this ordinance and we thought, yeah, this was a good idea. Maybe this isn't the best point. But before we devoted a bunch of planning hours and asked Bill to draft something for Paynesville, we thought we'd just get feedback from the board on whether this is something worth pursuing.
Does anybody know how many rental units there are in Paynesville? And how would we find out?
We do have a running list of some that we know of. I don't know what that number is.
Okay. And could you give me an estimate on time per inspection? Because we're gonna have to bill for this somehow when you go in there for their licensure.
Right, so the way Hutchinson has it set up, and whether it's right, wrong, or different, but it's how they do it, it's $20 per year per dwelling unit. So if you have one rental home, it's $20. If you have a duplex, it's $40, you know, follow me?
Right.
So,
How long is it gonna take you? When I looked through that list, it was pretty extensive.
case-by-case basis would dictate that, but 20 minutes? Half an hour tops, I would guess, you know?
I think we need
We're
something.
looking for simple things. It's a bell, okay, we're in a bedroom, does the bedroom have a smoke detector in the carbon monoxide line? Is there egress and egress out of it? Is it clean, is it sanitary? Are there working light switches? Do the lights work when they turn the light switch on? Are the outlets in good condition? Are the you know, it's not.
It's a good start, but I think this one is way over the top. And if it went to another committee, we could start slicing and dicing, because some of these is where the tenant can complain to the city, and then the city can go after them, and then the person renting the house has to put them up in another place to live.
Like I say, Len, this is by no means what I'm gonna hang my hat on. It's just to start the discussion.
Right, and I had a question, this is just, so you can help me out here. When we check, or if we check some of these, are we liable if it's not right? So if somebody moves into a house and they come in and say, yeah, it's been checked out from the city, it's all good to go, but there's a crack in the furnace and it's carbon monoxide, the kids get sick. But they moved in there because we said it was okay? Because you can't check that. Can you?
Right, that's why we would make sure that there's carbon monoxide alarms in the home. And then to the point of are we liable? So like in the building code, it's a point of time inspection, so I can't control what happens after I leave.
I was just making sure we're not liable. I know you can't. There's no way you can say if the chimney is perfect, because there's a lot of chimney that you can't see.
Right.
Yeah, this has come up from time to time, and there's been some opposition, mainly from the renters. We looked at some, and I realized that this would be a place to start. And I know in some cases it's also tied in where if there are more than, similar to like fire calls or false alarms, where if the police department is called more than so many times, the owner can be charged.
Sure, or will trigger an inspection.
Yeah, because, they keep sending officers out to, for false alarms is a waste of time also. So, that would be something else that, I would like to have, maybe thought about. Sure. I think Wade Park does that, and, but there's, a handful, probably more than a handful of cities that have, ordinances that we could take a look at rather than.
I'm pretty sure the city of St. Cloud has something about these calls.
One of the other concerns that I have with this, I'm kind of, believe it or not, with Len on the fact that the one from Hutchinson just seemed really over the top to me. I'm also concerned about the administration of putting this type of rental agreement in place. Like, at least at this point in time, our city administrative staff is already beyond their capacity. I mean, they're really busy right now with DMV stuff and their other tasks that they have. And so adding, even if it were only 75, but that's 75 a year of people coming in to fill out, this, to register their rental units every year. And, it just puts additional burden on them. And that was just one of my other concerns about it, would be, like I said, the administration of that. And, there's a part of me that also feels like, I think we were talking about this before the meeting, like I want to make sure that if we do put something in place, it's not redundant from what our state already has in place. And they have a landlord and tenant rights and responsibilities handbook. And I know that addresses some of these things, and I don't think it's, we don't need to repeat those, I think.
Brad, you know if there's any cities our size that has one? Hutchinson is about 7 times larger than we are. Do you know if, like a Cold Spring or something like that has
I'm
one?
not aware, no. I don't know.
Because I was wondering if theirs was going to be as complex as this one.
Right.
Yeah. But
Certainly something I can look into. If we decide to move forward, that is certainly something I can look into.
One of my other concerns was we already have a shortage of housing in our town, and I would hate to implement something like this and have it cost us more rental properties because landlords don't want to go through the hassle of going through this process and paying a registration fee.
Do you think having an inspection would cause them to sell the home then or leave it vacant, do you think? Or I guess I'm not following your concern on that.
I think what she's kind of saying maybe is now, some of these, if the windows don't work, it says they have to get them fixed and so forth. Some of the rental properties, that's just how it's gonna be. And the guy's not gonna put brand new windows in a rental property to make $700 a month.
Right. He probably would just
So I'm worried about some of that. I don't know if it's a real thing, but I know when you have rentals, the idea is you want to make a few dollars on it and not run a slum hole either. But I think if we enforce this right now, we're gonna have some serious issues with a few places. Not
So what I'm hearing then, Len, is that you feel that we have an issue, that we have some homes that probably aren't real safe.
No, no, I'm saying that if your window doesn't work, doesn't mean it's not safe.
If it's a
Because your
bedroom window,
doesn't
it is.
open up, doesn't make it not safe.
I think if it's your bedroom window, it is.
And
I
see,
don't
that's
feel
gonna,
like that's real unreasonable to make sure that you have a way to get out of your room if it's burning down.
and see, that's where it's gonna come on to your call.
Well, I think that's, that would be part of the discussion as, if we go through this, that would be part of the discussion. Right now, it's whether or not, we as a council are interested in having time spent on this. And I would argue that because we have a lack of housing now, we have a shortage, now would be a time to do that rather than you get more in, and it's more of an uphill battle, and those that are already grandfathered in, then it's kind of a, fruitless point to do that. And I think reputable landlords, I think, would be, somewhat open to do this, because I do believe we are seeing it more and more in other communities.
How does that work though, where you grandfather? Like, I thought that one from Hutchinson had a specific date where even all of the current rentals in town were required to apply for this. So, how does that work, grandfathering in people who already have rentals that maybe don't?
That would have to be part of the legal question as we work on the nuts and bolts.
Rick, 'cause it says in here it's a misdemeanor, so we can make it a misdemeanor on their record?
That's what our
I mean-
ordinance is, right?
Well, that's what this ordinance is.
Yeah.
That's the way it's written. And that's typically true of most city ordinances. A violation, you have, a lot of municipal ordinances, you have the option to do an administrative enforcement procedure, like deny their rental license so they can't have tenants, would be one way of doing it, or charge them with an ordinance violation, which is a misdemeanor by definition typically, and, but it seems, I suppose you could set it up so you could do both, or you'd have the option.
No, I like the idea, don't get me wrong, it's just that I don't like this one.
And I think that's why that's why planning sent it here.
Right.
We didn't really like this one either, but we liked the idea, so we thought, let's bring it here, see if enough like the idea to make working on one that fits worthwhile.
I'm sure we could find lots of examples of zoning or of rental ordinances, where planning could look at some options. There's a lot of them out there.
And another thing would be like my first question, how do we find out who has rentals and who doesn't?
Most cities' zoning ordinances are on the internet. You just have to look.
As far as who in town here is renting out.
Oh, who's renting?
Yeah. Well, it's similar to
It's like licensing dogs and cats.
dogs and cats and building permits and things like that. You can't,
100%.
hopefully you'll catch them all, but, in reality, you're probably not going to.
In reality, Brad probably knows, he's been in every house in this town
Yeah.
twice.
Mhm.
As far as,
We can catch a lot of them through utility billing, but not all of them.
Yeah.
We probably have a pretty good idea. There's gonna be some, if they wanna try to hide for a while, they'll be able to, but
Yeah, and it's a balancing act between public safety and,
Overreach.
treating your rent, the landlords, fairly also, and not overburdening them. I think of, the Black Saucer, which, there was probably a couple things, building codes, for one thing, that probably were overlooked, and whether or not a rental ordinance would have, caught some of those things, I don't know. We were very fortunate in that case. And if something like this helps to, improve public safety for, our residents, I'm for it. Take a look at it.
I'd be all for it, to go forward and find other ones or put it into some committees and dissect it out and get Brad's concept on it, but I'd like to have Brad involved, even though he's not in that, might not be in that committee, if it goes to policies and procedures, I'd still like you there to say, keep me in line.
Sure,
I
absolutely.
mean, that would be really beneficial to us. But yeah, we need something, but I don't know what it is.
And I think, you know, the chief or a designee involved too, because, you know, that would be
The enforcement
part
side.
of the enforcement side. Yeah.
And then we
The question I
somebody
have-
with the city involved, so we know, well, like Alicia said, how much time is this gonna take? And is $20 gonna cover the time for you and for the city to build a database to put them all in there and get everything licensed up? And if there's any infringements down the road,
Right.
maybe it has to be $50, I don't know.
Chief?
Question I have is, would you be interested in coupling this with the crime-free multi-housing? I think you kind of alluded to some of that, which deals with those
What?
calls.
What? Sorry, I didn't hear what
It's
you
called
said.
crime-free multi-housing. Basically, it deals with, a lot of times it deals with your multifamily dwellings, but the essence of the program is to prohibit, like, those people who come in and cause problems, have those repeated issues, you know, whether it's a late night parties, those types of things, where you get those noise complaints, to give landlords and the city an opportunity to be able to address some of those, to keep our multifamily dwellings just that we're keeping, you know, good tenants in there, people who are, you know, creating a good atmosphere for other residents in that.
Essentially a
facility.
blacklist.
I can't say it's a blacklist. It basically makes people behave themselves, and if they don't, they understand there's consequences. But it also puts, you know, it gives some teeth to some of the landlords, because it gives them the ability to work on some different lease agreements and verbiage and wording in there, to be able to address those problem tenants. Because that's where, you know, it's really what we're looking at, is dealing with some of those problem tenants as well. You know, those people that
But
they
as a
have hard time getting
landlord,
rid of.
you still have a specific state-ordered process that you have to go through to get rid of even troubled tenants.
This is another layer for them.
I don't know. Personally, I feel like it's a little bit of too much government overreach, in my opinion, so I'm having a hard time with it.
You want, go forward and see what we can come up with, move this one down to a nicer ordinance?
I don't know. I mean, I really feel like as a property owner, it's my responsibility. It's, you know, the owner's responsibility to maintain safe living conditions, whether they're living there themselves or whether they're renting that piece of property. Maybe I just have some rose-colored glasses on and feel like people ought to take that kind of responsibility, and maybe that's not realistic, but that's kind of where I'm at with it. I feel like we should be able to be responsible with our property.
I assure you that if people were already doing that, I wouldn't be here.
But on the other hand, if we looked into it and we didn't like how it ended up, we could always ditch it at that time.
I'm in favor of putting something together that would be realistic at our level.
Yeah, I'm into the realistic and to make sure that we're protecting both the landlord and the tenant. Because at this time of year is about the time there's gonna be quite a few people looking for places to live because you couldn't kick them out till now.
Do we need a motion to send this to policies or somewhere for further review, or can it just go there?
If we have a consensus, and I have a two,
I would be in favor of it going for review.
I'd make a motion to make it go to the,
I'm in favor to looking at it further. I think Len said, compared to cities our size,
yeah, and Brad said he could look into that. And
it
then,
should be a simpler,
but somehow we have to make sure the right people are on the boards, even committees, even if they're not on it.
I do agree with Alicia on city staff. You know, it would take a lot of time to do the forms and all that, so that's something to consider too.
Yep.
And who knows how fast we want to jump into this, maybe we're 6 months, a year out.
Yeah, I don't think this is anything we want to go real quickly on. I mean.
no, and it's gonna take some time to put something together, and,
So that might be part of the package where we are with staff.
you know, and I'm thinking that policies and procedures and planning, you know, would be a couple, you know, the two to really, and public safety, maybe to take, you know, to run it through and come up with something.
I would suggest that if you move forward with something like this, you know, that you get some landlords involved. I think you don't want to do this without the involvement of some people from the landlord community. You're not going to involve everybody, but I think at the committee level, you want to get some people involved. You want to invite some people in so their voice can be heard. I mean, you know, it seems like it's a public safety ordinance. It's not a landlord ordinance. You can't lose sight of the fact that what you're addressing is public safety, but I think you want to at least listen to the landlords, and if they've got some concerns that are legitimate, you want to try to take them into consideration. We don't want to, you know, be totally not listening to what the landlords say, but at the same time, I think we got to realize it's not an ordinance that's designed to protect them. There might be parts of it that are hopefully helpful to them, but the idea is to address public safety concerns. I think what Brad's saying is that we have some housing in our community that it's pretty far substandard, and I think that's what he's concerned about. That's why he's here bringing this forward, and so I think you got to go into this with, you know, with realizing that that's what you're trying to address.
Right, but you can't single out just those trouble blighted properties, right? So it's going to impact all of the landlords in the whole town.
Sure, of course. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, but hopefully their standards are reasonable standards. I mean, that's the idea, is that I mean, you know, there might be some real nice landlords that still have properties that are a little bit unsafe, you know, but hopefully those aren't major issues, but I mean, they should be addressed. If there's a safety problem, we shouldn't close our eyes to it, I don't think.
That'll be one way of finding out who the landlords are. If we publicize that we're going to be looking into this, and we'll might get some comments and some, you know, requests to be involved, so. Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brad.
Okay, the next one, we have a request for a public hearing for a variance on behalf of Fortitude Senior Living of Painesville LLC, Tom Opatz. And they want a variance, a height variance for their building out there, if I'm reading this correct, to go from, was it 45 to 60 feet?
It would be a variance from the 35-foot height limit.
From the 35, yep. And so that hearing is recommended to be on April 13th, 2020 here in council chambers at 6:30 p.m.
I'll make a motion to set the variance public hearing for Monday, April 13th, 2020 at 6:30 p.m.
Second. I heard a couple seconds there. I think Neil jumped in there first. So motion by LeBeau, seconded by Hertzberg to set that variance hearing for April 13th, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. here in council chambers. Discussion. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none carried. And on to the water festival that Mr. Mergen mentioned earlier. He's got a budget there and what's going to be going on, and everybody's welcome to attend and see what's going on.
Yes, it's our 18th annual water festival. Again, we do have the DNR involved, the SWCD, Lake Coronis, the North Fork Crow River, and a number of the students, along with a teacher or two from our local institute here. And on the budget, we do have quite a number of donations. Again, the Coronis Ministries, they do not charge for their facility out there. The meals and everything are provided. Coronis Lake Association, they are looking at supplying some water bottles again for us this year. The t-shirts, the school has a screen printer now, I believe, and they will be utilizing that for all the t-shirts. So really we have that, the busing, and some miscellaneous items. And then we do have all the donators listed there, along with our source water protection grant. So the cost is just over $1,000 there, and it looks like our donations with the source water protection grant will be about $1,050. So the costs are all covered.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2020 Water Festival.
Second.
Motion by Gilmore, seconded by LeBeau to approve the 2020 Water Festival. Discussion. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, none, that carried. And I used to participate and learn quite a bit when I was out there even, so. Interesting. Okay, next one is, oop, I went too far here. We have, oops, page 33. Policy to, an employee exit interview policy and then questionnaires for that. It's suggested to have that. We've had a chance to look through those. Policies and procedures has been working hard, and this is one of the things that they've been on, and they do recommend approval.
I'll move to approve the employee exit interview policy.
Second.
Motion by Rinky, seconded by LeBeau to approve the employee exit interview policy. Discussion?
I just want to say thanks to our policies and procedures for all their hard work. I like this. It was good.
Credit to Belinda who drafted it. And I'll just say the purpose of this and the questionnaire are not to fault anyone for leaving us or anything like that. It's really to figure out what we're doing well as a city for our employees and where we can improve. So this isn't something that's going to trail someone. It's not going to be used negatively to them. It's just to help us do things better.
Yep. And we would not be alone in doing this. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Carried.
I'll make a motion to approve the employee exit questionnaire.
Second. Motion by Gilmore, second by Hertzberg to approve the employee exit questionnaire as listed in the pages there. Discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? None? That carried. And then the next one, Chief is looking for some updated furniture here and gone out on Find Some. They got a couple quotes. Budget and Finance Board reviewed this and recommended approval from, and that's through Northern Business Products, 28, 21, and 60 cents. You do have some outdated looking stuff there.
I do, and it's piecemealed together, so it
Good thing
would
we
be
don't,
nice to get something more functional.
good thing we don't have a rental ordinance in place yet.
And there is money in your budget for this purchase, so I'll make the motion to approve purchase office furniture for Chief of Police Office from Northern Business Products, amount of $2,821.60.
I'll second.
Motion by Hertzberg, seconded by LeBeau to approve the purchase of office furniture for the Chief of Police Office from Northern Business Products in the amount of $2,821.60. Discussion. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Carried. And then some moving furniture here. The purchase of a police interceptor utility from Yarman Ford. Budget Finance has reviewed this also. Got two quotes there, one from Yarman Ford for $32,799.00, and one from 1040 for $32,799.5856. Pretty darn close.
I'll make the motion to approve the purchase of a 2020 police interceptor utility from Yarman Ford for $32,799.
I got one question.
We don't need a second yet.
Oh, sorry.
I'll second it.
Okay, now we have a motion and a second and in discussion.
Okay, thank you. How many cars do we have to surplus right now?
So currently, excuse me, we would have, now that Tom's is done, depending upon what he does for training, additional training to get Jerry back up to where he should be here this spring. We'll probably hold on onto the white Crown Vic and probably have to surplus them all at the same time. So it would be the blue Crown Vic, the white Crown Vic, and then the 2013. So we'd have 3.
Then it'll be down to how many vehicles?
We'd have 4. So we'd have a 2015, which would go for the training squad. We'd have the 2 main road squads and the K9 squad.
Okay, count with me again then. We're gonna have 3 or 4,
3 to surplus?
We have 3 to surplus,
and we have how many left over?
4.
4.
So we weren't able to surplus the blue one way back when, so we kept it for parts for the other Crown Victoria. But now that we're moving away from that one, we'll be able to surplus both. We have had interest in actually both those cars. Apparently well, being they're dinosaurs and everybody loves them, they all want them for demo cars and other stuff, so.
Did you say we would hold on to those for a while, or would they go right away?
They would go, so Tom, the plan is Tom will go back to some canine school with Jerry here this spring, so sometime probably late March, April, when they're running a class. Rather than putting miles on the Tahoe, we will use the white Crown Victoria for that purpose. So we're not putting miles on the new used canine squad. As soon as he's done with that, then we will get rid of those squads.
Wasn't the transmission leaking in the Crown Vic? That's why we got a new one. And that's what the minutes from the meeting reflect, was that the transmission was leaking. So, I mean, the comment, as I remember at that time, was it's probably not worth keeping. So I don't know why we'd be sending them to the cities and something that is leaking.
So I've talked with the mechanics on it. I specifically asked them about those issues. What I was told, after I addressed that with them, was that it was something out of a release valve. I'm not a mechanic, Sean, so I can't tell you exactly, but that's where it was leaking from. I specifically asked them about whether or not the vehicle is safe to drive, and basically in the capacity of driving it, they said fine. In the capacity of using it as a road squad, you know, it was well, you really need to baby it. Well, you know, if he's got to run code somewhere, I can't have him, you know, worried about babying a squad car and whether or not the transmission's going to go.
Who are the mechanics you referred to?
It would be ProTech and
Okay. Anything else, discussion-wise?
The Yarman's basically matching the state bid. 1040 is the state bid, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Are we ready? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? None? That carried.
I'll make the motion to approve the purchase of equipment and installation services from DTM Fleet Services for $4,220.93.
Second.
Motion by Hertzberg, seconded by LeBeau to approve the purchase of equipment and installation services from DTM Fleet Services for $4,220.93. Discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Carried. All right. And then a laptop for the squad car, and we get down to page 49. And you're using Panasonics, but you were going to switch to a Dell because the county is transitioned to Dell?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, for the most part, a good chunk of, well, the sheriff's office has switched to all Dell. I believe there are some agencies in the county that are switching. There's still some that use the Toughbook. Being that the county does a lot of their work on the Dell, and they're also the ones who do the IT on our stuff, I figured we'd at least give one a shot and see how it compares. The computer that we're looking at is semi-rugged, similar to what we have, which I'm told should fit in our universal mount, so we don't need to spend more money for another mount for the computer.
Okay, and it's budgeted and money is available?
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of a Dell Latitude 5420 for $24.11 and 24 cents from Dell EMC.
Second.
Motion by Gilmore, seconded by Rinky to approve the purchase of a Dell Latitude 5420 for $2,411.24 from Dell EMC. Discussion, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, carried. And then the next one here is the staff shortage, and we will have an update on there too. Okay, Chief, you want to update us here on getting Officer Figum and Lepaka up to speed here?
Yes, so with our current situation as far as our staff levels, with one officer still out on medical, with the resignation of Officer Meadows, and then now tonight you have on your agenda, Officer Lunch has taken a position with Alec PD. We obviously are going to have a significant staffing shortage. Officer Lemkool has advised that he will, he is willing to work additional hours, but we are still going to, I'm still not going to be able to cover all of the time with the city with him. What I would like to do, and I've spoken with both Officer Figum and Officer Lepaka, who are our part-time SROs and have extensive experience in law enforcement. They have both advised that they are willing to assist in working the road. There really isn't anything we need to do with them other than to give them a few hours of training, maybe a couple days worth of training with Tony to learn the streets and understand our computer system and just do some of those basic training things. Their knowledge of the profession is such that we don't need to do an in-depth FTO with them. So they have all the equipment and everything necessary. Their license covers everything. It's just a matter of teaching them some of the technical things.
Are we still looking at bringing in Dana, or is she?
Unfortunately, Officer Kluver will be starting with her new position here in, I believe, mid next week. So that new job has finally come to fruition and unfortunately isn't available. I have also reached out to the sheriff's office. Chief Jansky has also offered assistance to come in and pick up part-time. I'm just trying to formulate a list of potential officers who are willing to come in and assist part-time as well. When I say I talked to the sheriff's office, I asked if they had any personnel that that they would allow to be employed by the city part-time to help get us through this time. And by all indications, there are several that have indicated that they would. I just have to reach out to them and put that list together.
If someone like from the county comes in on a part-time basis, are they paid their rate, or?
They would pay whatever rate that we would set for them to work. When we hired Steve on, we hired him on at the same rate as Bruce, which would be the top. It would be up to the council to decide. I mean, this is a temporary position. These aren't permanent part-time people. It's a temporary position, so I believe when we did it with Steve and Bruce, we reasoned that their years of experience justified the pay. So I mean, we could kind of set it where we feel is appropriate.
And so where are we at with the hiring process?
So Steve is in the process of finishing up the background, and I was going to give that update for E. Two of the candidates are moving forward. I've discussed with policies and procedures. The third candidate that we moved through, that candidate is no longer moving through the process. So we have two other candidates that are going through. By all indications from Steve, he's not finding anything as of yet. They're set for their psychologicals tomorrow and their physicals on Wednesday. So we should know, hopefully by the end of the week, whether or not there's any disqualifiers with them.
And then is it about 6 months till they're out on their own?
No, it'd be a 3-month FTO, so we would have, and that all depends upon how they progress in their FTO. So the first one would be out in 3 months, the second one would be out 3 months later.
So are we hiring two at this time or not necessarily?
Well, that'll be down in E here, so.
Okay. Well, then we'll wait for E.
I'll make the motion to approve the training of Officer Fygum and Officer Lepatka for patrol officer duties to fill in when needed due to staffing shortages.
Second. Motion by LeBeau, seconded by Hertzberg to approve the training of Officer Fygum and Officer Lepatka for patrol officer duties to fill in when needed due to staffing shortages. Discussion? Is there any more discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? None, and that carried. And then off our update, we do have, as the chief mentioned, the bad news from Officer Lynch here, tending his resignation effective 23rd. So we should have a motion to approve that.
I'll make the motion to approve the acceptance of the resignation of Officer Carter Lynch effective March 23rd, 2020.
Second.
Motion by Hertzberg, seconded by Ranky to approve that resignation. Discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? None? That carried. That's it for new business, old business. Let's handle item C and get the young ladies out of here. It's a nice evening. So much fun, right?
Fascinating.
Oh, fascinating. Yeah, the A and B are gonna be boring anyway. So then we're on page 65. Let's handle that. And we do have a couple of members from the Ad Hoc Library Development Board here, and a couple questions that have come up, and one is the permission to research and apply for grants, and I have gotten some links from the Initiative Foundation here that I will pass on for those if this is approved by council, and I assume it will be, so we can act on that if you want.
Okay, I'll make a motion to allow the Ad Hoc Library Development Board to research and apply for grants.
Second.
Motion by Gilmore, seconded by Rinky, to allow the Ad Hoc Library Development Board research and apply for grants. Discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Carried. And the board would like to know if City Hall here is an option for the new library, move City Hall to the former Shopko building. And I think it's been conveyed to the board to do research, whatever, but I guess some discussion from the council would probably be in order as to what they feel.
I think I would just echo that sentiment that the purpose of this board was to figure out what might work best, and if that means thinking outside the box, then do it. Run.
We just didn't want to spend too much time discussing some of these if they weren't going to be feasible options, so.
I know there have been a lot of out-of-the-box ideas that have been thrown out, but yeah.
I myself kind of like that idea, because we got a parking and a space, and there's an issue here, and that would meet my criteria of keeping the library downtown.
I'd have a ton of questions if it ever got close to that. I wouldn't say I would rule out anything, but I would have a ton of questions. And it's all about money.
You say money?
Money.
It's all about money.
Yep, it is.
You want to throw a few of those questions out there so if we do go that way, we come prepared?
Okay. I don't rent anything. I rent to people. We own a building. I would not rent a building.
Yeah, I get it.
That's rule number one in my world. If it works for the city, that's just my world. And that's without knowing, and nobody knows what the costs are. Nobody knows what the rent is. Nobody knows how much the library is going to use for space. So yeah, go for whatever you want and we'll deal with it. Because you can't have a real discussion. And keep thinking out of the box. I don't care. We'll rock with it till we get there.
We'll have a plan.
Have a plan, yeah, and make it a good one.
I mean, just go for it, but there's so many questions that can't be answered.
Right, and the purpose of the grants that they were looking into was basically to do some of that studying, look at some of those, come up with some possible.
No, you guys are doing great. Just keep on going with it. Like I said, I'm not gonna say no. Not yet.
Well,
Well, it is recorded that you said that now. So.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, think out of the box, go with it. Like I said, there's so many questions, but there's no answers.
Yeah, I think like I've told Joe and us, I'm gonna kind of stay out of this and let the group do what their research is, because they're out there in the community, users of the library and that, so whatever, it'd be interesting to see what happens.
Go for it.
Neil, you were gonna say something?
Well, part of this research is to come up with pricing.
Yep.
And a little bit I know, I believe the building could possibly be available for the city to buy. But I have no idea.
Everything's for sale.
It's a dime on a dollar or 50 cents.
Everything has a price. Yeah. So, anyway, proceed.
Yes, rock on.
Yep.
Thank you for being part of this. Thank you, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, we were hoping to hear a little bit more what your thoughts were, so I can tell that you need more information in order to be able to.
Oh, in order to move the city hall, there's one, what's the rent gonna cost? Two, are we gonna buy the building or not? Three, how much the floor space, is it so much a square foot? Four, is it gonna be remodeled per square foot, or do we have to remodel it per square foot? What kind of a lease is it gonna be? Is it gonna be a net lease or not? Do we gotta pay for anything that breaks down, or is the landlord gonna pay?
And
Questions you want?
And a lot of those questions would come to, we do have a property negotiating committee that, you know, I'm not looking for the board, you know, the ad hoc board to come and say, you know, here's a purchase agreement or whatever.
Well, she asked me the questions I had, so I was just saying.
Well, I think we're deciding, we're giving you the recommendation.
Yeah.
That's really what we're doing.
Of what's best for the
So
library.
honestly, the feasibility of the costs and everything, I mean, we can tell you X, Y, and Z grants are available, but our job as an ad hoc committee, my understanding is to bring to you a recommendation as in, yes, this community would benefit from moving somewhere. Is it moving somewhere else in downtown, or is it moving out to the Shopko building?
Right.
The Shopko building is specifically what the investor needs to have his answer back on. But as far as our representation of the board, you know, we're representing the community and wanting to know what's best, and would we benefit as a community by making a change from what we already have.
That's why I will not say no on anything you bring in.
Yeah, and we're super
Just
excited
keep
to be
on
a
bringing it
part
on.
of
I
that.
have questions,
Yeah.
but you can't answer them, and nobody can
Right.
answer them right now. But
Yeah.
if it went there, we'd get them answered. But yeah, just keep on thinking out of the box, and I don't care, throw them against the wall.
That's what we're gonna do.
Yep, yeah.
Has there been any research, and from what I see, there's room for the existing building to expand all the way to the street and behind? And if that would give the library the space they need? Just another option.
I think we figured it would add about 1,200 square feet.
I thought it was closer to 800 at the mission, but maybe it was.
Maybe it was, I thought it would bring the total up to
It wasn't
around
very much.
4,000. It wouldn't give a whole lot of
Not
space.
as much as they'd like.
They have like 2,800 now, and the goal would be to get 4,000 or 6,000 square feet, so it wouldn't come close to that.
And we would still have the issue of parking likely.
Correct.
So,
Parking was a big concern.
But that doesn't mean we're not thinking outside of the box as to what other options are for parking.
Well,
It's just a matter of-
parking's not the issue it was in the 50s or the 60s.
But if you own
There's
a
a lot of
business
open
downtown,
parking in town.
I don't know, if you own a business downtown, you might not feel that way.
Yeah, I don't agree.
Yeah, well, that's the research they're doing,
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
all right, carry on.
all right.
Keep going, thank you again.
I'll get out of your way.
You're not in the way,
I know.
so,
All right, thank you very much.
yeah.
Have fun. Okay, then up to item A under old business, wastewater facility joint powers agreement. We had looked at this at the last council meeting and had some questions about, was it workers' comp issues, you know, and then going back and forth, and I think a couple other things that had come up, but any update there, Ron or Melinda?
I just redrafted the agreement
Okay.
to address kind of the insurance issues that I thought needed to be addressed in there, basically.
Other than that, it is the identical agreement that we looked at last time. Again, the city holds and maintains the operator and the biosolids license for them. Inspected a couple times a month, do all their monthly reports, and basically Lake Henry handles all the day-to-day, and the compensation is as presented here.
I move to approve the wastewater treatment facility joint powers agreement between the city of Painesville and the city of Lake Henry.
Second.
Motion by Rinky, seconded by Gilmore to approve the wastewater treatment facility joint powers agreement between the city of Painesville and the city of Lake Henry. Discussion, anything else? Not, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, none, carried. And then the AMPI wastewater expansion project there, and Kent is filling in for Chuck tonight. So Chuck won't give a verbal report, but Kent will, and tell us we have for the payment to make.
Correct. Included in the packet is pay request number 8 for the wastewater treatment system improvements project. The amount of the pay request is $607,251.40. That includes all work completed through February 26th. Regarding update on the project, they do have subcontractors working on the lift station north of the railroad tracks. Eagle is still working at the pretreatment building, and there's some backfilling of those structures going on, filling the holes in. We are estimating their completion to occur around the April-May timeline. There will be some surface restoration that may occur after that, paving the streets and turf, things like that.
I'll make the motion to approve payment estimate number 8 payable to Eagle Construction Company Incorporated in the amount of $607,251.40.
Second.
Motion by LeBeau, seconded by Hertzberg to approve payment estimate number 8 payable to Eagle Construction Company, Inc. in the amount of $607,251.40. Discussion. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, none, carried. And then item D, the blown away exercise coming up here, and the county is requesting a commitment of up to 4 persons to attend the training, and this is in October, and there's a list of 5 there, so who doesn't want to go?
I don't know if we should throw a city admin in there when they've only been here for 2 months.
I guess I put the city admin in there thinking it would be either the city admin or myself.
Or, okay,
Go twice?
as the public.
The other 3 for sure.
Yep.
Yep.
So who wants to be on Tom's team here?
So,
We put Public Works Director / former,
At this point, they weren't asking for names, they just really wanted a firm commitment
Okay.
that we will send 4 people.
okay.
okay, then I'd make a motion to approve the attendance of 4 to the blown away exercise for Emergency Operations Center, which could be the Emergency Service Director, Fire Chief, Police Chief, and Public Works Director / City Administrator.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Gilmore, seconded by Rinky to approve the attendance of 4 individuals to the blown away exercise for Emergency Operations Center, and it basically would be 4 out of that list there. Probably being Ron as the old city administrator and current public works director, right? Any other
So-
discussion?
They,
Yep.
we did go, I went with the former administrator to their first informational meeting that they had, and they also do encourage elected officials to get involved in this, just putting that out there.
Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, none, and carried. And now on to item E, hiring a full-time police officer. We'll get Neil's question answered here. Chief?
So kind of give you an update on where we are with the hiring process to fill Colin Meadows' position. Hopefully I'll have those answers by the end of this week. The plan is, as long as the individuals pass, it'll be brought to the full council on March 23rd for recommending for hire. I was holding off doing any type of conditional offer, that sort of thing with them, just because the last couple of processes we have actually washed people. So rather than doing that, kind of leaving them as a lump sum, we do kind of have a ranking with them right now, but leaving it kind of as a pooled group and then making a decision and have the council make a decision on the 23rd. The goal would be is if, I'd probably work with policies and procedures to rank them. I think we already kind of have a ranking as to which would be 1, which would be 2. But then whoever 1 would be, we would get them going as far as getting their equipment and everything else prior to that 23rd meeting, so that we can hopefully get them started for sure by the 1st of April, if not sooner. My guess is we're probably looking at towards the 1st of April for a start date, just between getting the equipment and stuff like that here.
So are you not really looking for anything from us tonight on this?
Not really, it's more just of an updated,
You're gonna hire both of them at the same time?
yes.
Okay.
The plan would be yes. I've talked with both of them. After our meeting, I talked with both of them. Actually, I talked with all the applicants at that point and asked them about waiting. One of the applicants is in another process with an agency in the area. I asked if they were given an offer, if they would withdraw from that. Granted, we can't make them do that, but they have advised that they would, if they know that they have a position with our agency.
Now, since we just hired some people, some really good experience, and new ones train with the FIGUM and Lemcool and so forth, since they've been doing this for 25 years?
The problem is they're willing to only do so much. None of these guys want to work full-time hours, which makes it very difficult when it comes to hiring or to training an officer. Consistency, you know, is the ideal scenario. So bouncing them from one guy to another guy to another guy to another guy in their limited roles that they're going to be doing is very difficult to do. The other big issue when it comes to some of these guys is, depending upon the number of hours that they work, they can only make so much money in a year. So we could potentially bump into issues where they're not able to work as much, if that makes sense.
No. In your world, yes, I guess. I would say with the experience they have, if they work for 5 hours with Officer Lemcool, Tuesday and Thursday work 5 hours with FIGUM, Officer FIGUM, who has 20 in Stearns County and so forth, they would learn more than from one person. When you have more than one person training, you can always pick up something. But that's my opinion. It's your department, not mine.
Is Cody fully trained, fully done with everything?
The minute we're done with field training, so the way our process works is it's a four-stage process. We have phase 1, which is largely we're running through our FTO manual, we're running through policies, getting them the lay of the land, basically teaching them some of the basics. Phase 2, they start to take over and take on a little more responsibility with some oversight. They start driving the squad. We start doing a lot of the geography as far as quizzing and can they find locations. Phase 3, we do a combination of like a dual patrol. So the field training officer, in this case myself, will be in another squad. They'll be in theirs. Largely it's so I can kind of monitor when we get calls, can they find where they're going? How are they handling them? And then the 4th phase, which is usually a few days, is the shadow phase where I'm in plain clothes and it's their show to run. And I sit there and watch and assess whether or not they can do it. The minute they're done with their field training, they're fully capable of doing the job. That doesn't mean they're still, you know, they're not learning, but they're capable to be out on their own once they get through that phase.
Okay, so once they're through with phase 4, they're on their own, they're eligible to do, you know, the TZD or
No, to do TZD, stuff like that requires additional courses. You have to have your SFSTs, the field sobriety training, what they call A-RIDE, which is an advanced thing for narcotic detection, seatbelt safety stuff. So there's additional trainings for those things, and usually I don't have guys work those types of shifts, or even offer them up until they've got more experience and can show that they're capable of handling a normal shift here before they take on extra responsibilities.
Are we doing any TZD participating now? Or?
As of right now, there hasn't been a single shift work this year.
Okay. Well, we'll see this in 2 weeks. Thanks for the update there. And that is it for any action items. We do have our updated March and April meeting schedule there. And just a reminder, we do have the Board of Appeal and Equalization coming up on April 16th. Then city administrator interviews on April 21st and 22nd. Packing our lunches those nights. If that's all, we are adjourned. Thank you all very much.